One of my favorite topics, surprisingly, also one of the most difficult to talk about. It's Top 5 Wednesday again, and this week's topic, for me, is fantastic. It is your top 5 books without romance. Or in this case, that don't really have a lot of romance. As much as I say I have no problem being a hardcore shipper and just like putting everyone with everyone, oftentimes I don't really enjoy romantic plot lines in my stories. And I think this is because I don't think they're done in a way that I enjoy. Oftentimes romantic plot lines feel like they were shoehorned into a narrative because you gotta have romance. No, you don't. So in this case, I chose 5 series that range from middle grade to adult that either do not have a romantic subplot, or if there is, it's like so small, it's almost negligible. I really tried to look for things where romance is not really a key feature of the story. Again, a lot harder than I thought it was gonna be. The Magisterium series by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black. This is a middle grade kind of action fantasy series, and just because it's middle grade doesn't mean middle grade books don't have romantic subplots. Some do. They are like obviously very innocent because usually the characters are somewhere around like 11 and 12, maybe 13, but I still see romance in a lot of middle grade. Now, again, I don't always have a problem with romance, but in the case of this series, I love that it focused so much more on having really strong friendships than it did on trying to create like a love triangle or something else. Now, I'm only 3 books into this series. There are 4 currently published. There's a 5th one coming out. So if something happens in book 4, I don't know. Please don't tell me. But as far as I've read, there really was not a true romantic subplot or anything else like that. It was just friendship, magic, adventure, good times. The Cormoran Strike series by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. There's kind of romantic tension between Cormoran Strike and Robin, but you know, it so far has not come to any sort of fruition. It's never been something that really feels like it derails the plot. There's not really a romantic plotline to any of this. It is always much more about the mystery. It's much more about the characters as individuals and as a team. And I really enjoy that. Now, if their relationship turns romantic, I'm not gonna sit here and cry foul because I like the 2 of them and I'd be okay with that. But I like that I've gotten 3 books of these 2 primary characters working as a team. Now, yes, Robin has a fiance and Cormoran has like at least 1 lover or something of the series, but like it's so not important to the story. It's important in the sense of Robin getting a sense of who she is and kind of understanding where her headspace is a lot of the time, but again, it doesn't feel like a true romantic subplot the way I think of romantic subplots. So I love the fact that I've gotten 3 books without one. And again, if one comes in the 4th book, I'm not gonna complain because I've gotten 3 without it, and it's developed these characters so well, both standing on their own as individuals, but also working together as an investigative team, that you could get away with it. But it is a great series that thus far has not really had true or massive romantic subplots. The Guardians of Childhood series by William Joyce. I'm forever going to sing this series' praises for so many reasons, but one of them is that there is no romantic subplot for really any of the characters. This series focuses on characters like Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, the Sandman, Nightlight, the Man in the Moon, Pitch, the Nightmare King, and all of these things. There is not a single romantic subplot between any of these characters. And I'm so glad, because I think a romantic subplot really would feel forced, with the prime exception of 2 characters. And the brief hint you get of it is not even enough to be called a subplot. It's like 1 line. And I go, that's not enough to call it a subplot. It's not derailing the story. It's just like, oh, look at how close these 2 characters are. And I'm like, could be romantic, could be best friends, who knows? Again, waiting on a 5th book. The Tearling Series by Erica Johansson. I remember when this series came out, it kind of made big news for the fact it wasn't going to be including a romance, considering it was a female protagonist in a high fantasy setting. You pretty much always expect a romance, and yet Johansson actively did not pursue this, and she did it on purpose. She really didn't want to include a romance because romance is always included. She's like, I have a character who's got so many other things on her plate, romance is not even on her mind. She's got to run back and like take back over her kingdom, and her kingdom has no idea who she is, and or they hate her, people are trying to kill her. She's got, you know, this queen who's after to kill her. She's like, no time for romance. And even throughout the series, as much as Sure, Calcea definitely, you know, had romantic inclinations towards certain characters. There was never a true romantic subplot. And for me, that was such a breath of fresh air. And whether you love or hate this series, I think there's no denying it was really nice to get a female-led high fantasy that didn't have a major romantic subplot for that female protagonist. Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Probably my favorite Schwab book. I mean, it's tough. I like pretty much all of her books, but this one I love because there isn't a true romantic subplot anywhere. If you want to read sexual tension between characters, go ahead and read it, but there isn't a romantic subplot. Just characters who were once colleagues and friends who totally fell out. There's a massive revenge plotline going on, and it is two incredibly anti-heroic, borderline villainous characters. Truly, they flirt with that line. Kind of depends where you are in the book, how you want to read them. I just love the fact that there wasn't a romantic plotline shoehorned into this, because there's so much else going on internally with these characters. If you tried to put in a romance, I would have been so unhappy. I would have been like, why? You're too focused on revenge. Like, go full Edmond Dantes, just don't care. Although if you've read The Count of Monte Cristo, yeah, there's romantic subplots in that, so I guess whatever. In this, it wouldn't have worked, and I'm so glad Schwab wrote a story without any romance going on in it. Especially this one. Again, a really hard topic. I think it's not that I hate romantic subplots, but most of the time I just don't think they're done well, and they feel sort of superfluous to the overall narrative. In series where I think they're done well, I love them and I'm all for them. And I liked knowing that there are series out there that maybe have like a blip of one, really don't have one. Just, it's nice to get ones that don't have a romantic subplot. Please write me more of them. Thanks for watching me ramble today. If you'd like to see more from me, go ahead and click that button with my face on it. It'll take you to my channel where I ramble about a whole lot of different things. Got some thoughts of your own? Go ahead and leave them down in the comments. And make sure that if you want to see more ramblings from me, you click that little subscribe button. That's it for me today, you guys, so until next time, cheers.